Hello one and all, and welcome along to the Euro Fantasy League podcast. We're back with November's roundup of the Premier League, La Liga and Serie A. Now, Dave Fennick can't be with us just yet on the Euro Fantasy League podcast. He is joining me a little bit later on. So until then, I've got a very special guest co-host for the first half of the episode today, Asif Norat. Hello there, Asif. How are you doing?
Hi, thanks for having me on today.
Oh, no problem.
Good.
Thank you for agreeing to come on. Let's get on with the show. Yes, welcome along, as I say, to the show. Now, Asif, it's very much appreciated, as I say, you joining me to help me out with the first half of this show. I've been looking through your profile on like Wakelet and things like that. You're quite prolific with your writing, aren't you?
Yeah, so I am a regular contributor to the one and only Euro Fantasy League, mainly on Manchester United, Premier League, and sometimes, if required, Serie A and La Liga. Yeah. And then I do tend to write articles now and then for Football España. And then I used to write for Yahoo Sport as a Manchester United fan view, where I used to just write articles on how I felt and how some of the other diehard supporters felt about the club on a regular basis.
That's very good, that is. So what made you get into like football writing in the first place? Was it just a passion, or if
it was at a tough time. Like Man United were going through a tough time, so it's under Louis van Gaal. And I just felt that like my tweets need to be expanded more into something else. Like back in those days, there weren't more of a Twitter thread available to like put your thoughts and actual feelings on. So I started having a thought about just writing articles, because I used to see a lot of articles on my timeline. Some I used to disagree with, some I used to agree with. So I was thinking it's like maybe it's time to put my feelings and thoughts towards the club that I love the most and see how the readers and viewers feel about the type of articles that I produce, and then it just kicked off from there.
Oh, that's absolutely brilliant, that is. So it's come essentially from a passion standpoint, getting involved in it. No, I think that's absolutely brilliant. And you were saying that was under Louis van Gaal. I know Man United have struggled a little bit since Sir Alex Ferguson retired, haven't they? They've never obviously quite got back to those heights.
Yeah, we've had a lot of problems on and off the pitch. Like, they just, the last couple of years, there just seems to be like no actual lack of awareness and like which way the club is actually heading. It's like we've had like throughout a year, so like in 2018, you'd only have about 1 or 2 months of good football and positive football, whilst the other 10 months is just inconsistent and just appalling football for especially a lot of the supporters to watch on a regular basis. And when it comes down to negative football and defensive minded, you're not going to get much out of it, and you're only going to get 4 or 5 shots on target. That's how much we actually making on a weekly basis, and it's not something that we can pounce on or make the most out of, because our attackers, they're not like, we don't have a world class attacker. The closest player that we had at a world class level was Alexis Sanchez, but he's showing like he's not been able to like Mourinho's not being able to get the best out of him, and he is like declining because he's reaching that age of 29, 30, whilst the others are like Rashford and Martial. They're still young, so you shouldn't be relying on 2 young players to help and save the team week in and week out. So it's just come down to the managers that we've had. Like David Moyes was a selection from Sir Alex Ferguson. You can't, like, as much as I love Sir Alex Ferguson, you can't let the manager choose who the next manager should be. Like, the board should be deciding that as a whole. Like, as much as I love Sir Alex Ferguson and what he's done to the club, you shouldn't be letting another manager choose the perfect coach for the club. It's like, did Barcelona allow Pep Guardiola to choose who should be the club's next manager? No, they didn't. So why should we be doing the same?
Yeah, I think it was a big showing of faith in Sir Alex Ferguson's judgment. And to be fair, I mean, David Moyes at the time was you would argue possibly one of the prime candidates anyway. But yeah, you're right. You would think a little bit of due diligence, and maybe they would have realised that might not have worked out for the best. I mean, it's probably a good thing actually that Dave's not with us for this first half of the episode, because we're both Sunderland supporters. So there's a lot of love for David Moyes there. Not so much from Dave's point, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I grew up with a soft spot for Man United as well, and it has been horrible to see. I mean, when Jose Mourinho came in, that was he seemed like the natural born replacement for Sir Alex Ferguson long term, or at least I thought so. But even that hasn't quite gone to plan at this stage, has it? There's been good and bad.
Yeah, definitely. Like, a lot of the supporters are saying, like, imagine what Mourinho would have done if he was appointed as the manager straight after Sir Alex Ferguson left, and some are saying that the outcome still would have been the same. I'm quite split on how the fans are feeling about this if he was our manager back then. But at the time, we did have players that had a lot of experience and were like proven in the Premier League, and the team was just full of leaders from defence to attack. Yeah. We had just a number of players that are like game changers, and they were able to like just dominate and control that half of the pitch. That's something that we're struggling to do at the moment.
Yeah.
You look at the Manchester United squad right now, and you actually look and think, are these the players that are like Mourinho-born type of players, like the type of players that Mourinho had at Chelsea? Like, he had at Chelsea like Makelele, SCN, Lampard, John Terry, players that were like willing to do anything for him. And then even at Inter Milan, you had your Diego Milito, then you had Samuel Eto'o, and then a lot of other players like Sneijder, Cambiasso. And it's just, when you look at this team right now, the only players that you see that are willing to do anything for Mourinho are the ones that are actually not our best players. If you look at the squad as a whole right now, maybe you see like Mourinho's favourites right now are Smalling, Ashley Young, Nemanja Matic and Romelu Lukaku. 4 players that, like, with Matic, he's being overused, and even then, he's not the ball-playing type of defensive midfielder that United need at the moment. Smalling and Ashley Young have been 2 good long servants for the club, but sometimes you just have to look for upgrades and just move on. Yeah. It's like you see clubs like Chelsea and Manchester City, they have a lot of like love and happiness for their loyal players, but sometimes it's just best to move on, like how they did with Terry. Like, although they were reported to give him like a part-time player role and a coach role, but they were like just happy to like give him the sending off he deserved and allow him to finish his career wherever he wanted to. And the same goes with Man City. They've had the likes of Zabaleta, Kolarov, Clichy as their defending options, and even though a lot of the City supporters used to like them play back in those days, they were just happy to just allow them to be sold and they find better upgrades like how they're having Kyle Walker and Benjamin Mendy. So it's like United have made a lot of signings in defence over the last couple of years, yet we're still relying on Jones to play, Smalling to play, Ashley Young to play, and Antonio Valencia. So it shows that the coaching has not been going well with the new signings that are coming into the club, and that the planning for the transfers has just not been good enough.
No, I mean, there's been a couple of departures going along those lines as well, hasn't there? I mean, the likes of Daley Blind. I mean, did you find that to be a major blow, like when Daley Blind left to go back to Ajax?
I think he was linked with other clubs like Inter Milan and AC Milan, but he just saw that Ajax were on the bound to return into the Champions League, and he wanted to play a part in that, and you cannot really blame him going back to the club that he used to play for. And then when you look at Daley Blind, he doesn't have the physical presence or the pace to be a player that Mourinho likes, so that's why he was only used as a squad player. Meanwhile, under Van Gaal, he was a regular starter. So it kind of does show the differences between both managers. Like, Van Gaal wouldn't really be motivated towards buying players that are like tall and physical. Meanwhile, Mourinho likes his players to be have these attributes so that they can dominate the way he wants it to be on the pitch, because he likes to have a defensive-minded team and then go on to being effective on the counter-attack. He's the type of manager that prefers a 1-0 victory over, say, a 4-3 win. He's that type. So they both, although Mourinho and Van Gaal, the stats that are shown of the two managers are Manchester United. They're all showing similar type of possession amount, chances created, but like they're both still different types of managers in terms of the types of players they like and the system that they play on the pitch.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I was just going to go back quickly to something you alluded to earlier on when you said about Man United perhaps not moving the players, like, keeping the rotation in, getting the new young blood in. And it did just make me hark back a little bit to Sir Alex Ferguson back around the mid-90s. I think it was 1995 perhaps, when he sold Andrei Kanchelskis, Paul Ince and Mark Hughes all in the same summer. And that seemed absolutely insane because that was the backbone of the team. They were still performing at a high level. But he had that vision to move them on and bring, in that instance, some of the class of 92 through, the likes of Beckham, Nicky Butt, the Neville brothers. I mean, Giggs and Scholes were, I think I'm right in saying already, Giggs certainly was already established. But that seems to be a vision that a lot of managers sort of struggle with at times, isn't it?
Yeah, once you're used to a group of players and once they've shown the quality on a regular basis and they've helped you to win big trophies season in, season out, then you just have that attachment to them that you just want to keep them available between your hands as long as possible. But then obviously some managers have to show why they are on another level to other managers. It's like similar to Guardiola when he was at Barcelona. One stage of his time at the Camp Nou, he decided to shift the likes of Deco, Ronaldinho and Abidal out, and he just thought now's the time to bring in the new young guns, and they'd be able to like have that perfect mixture of the youth in the team and youth and energy in the team, along with the experienced players of Iniesta, Xavi, Thierry Henry, Messi. So there's like only a couple of managers do it these days where they are happy to bring in youth players into the first team and then use them effectively. Like there are signs that Mourinho has been using youngsters from time to time, but they're more of a last option choice. For example, like the likes of Lingard, Rashford, even other players like at the time there was Borthwick, Jackson, Varela. They were all used by Louis van Gaal at the start. Like if Louis van Gaal didn't give them the first team opportunities, would we even think if Mourinho would use them anytime soon right now? So that's a question a lot of United supporters should be asking themselves, because a lot of the success that United have had under Mourinho has mainly been through the signings of Louis van Gaal, or even David Moyes, should we say. Like, for instance, the signings of Mata and Fellaini came through David Moyes. And Fellaini, even though a lot of United supporters don't like him that much, I personally like him. I just feel he's way over relied on by the manager, and he's still a good plan B option, but he's actually, compared to most of the players in the squad, he's actually come up with some crucial goals and last minute winners, something that the other midfielders have not shown to his club the last couple of years. It's like there has to be a huge question on the types of players Mourinho brings in, because he's not coaching them well and he's not starting them, and he's mainly keeping them on the bench. Is he trying to show to the board that the signings he's been allowed to bring in are not good enough, and should they give him more, or should there be like questions to whether Mourinho is just not good enough to coach these players and he just wants proven players? That's why he likes his aging players like Ivan Perisic and Willian. Like United have been linked with two of those players since Mourinho's joined the club. So it does show that Mourinho doesn't want to buy young players, and he just wants the players that are experienced and proven over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, you are quite right there. That's a really nice point, that is, actually, because he has had plenty of money to spend in the market, hasn't he? He has spent quite a fair bit. But yeah, there's not much in the way of youth prospects actually getting much of a chance at the moment, is there? I would say Scott McTominay might be one of the few, really, that's had a real fair crack at the first team under Mourinho, isn't he?
Yeah, he's been used time and time, but not on a regular basis. But even then, when you look at his abilities, they're quite limited. Like, he's not been impressive as many Man United supporters think, and some actually do feel sorry for him, because in some games where we need a Fred or maybe Ander Herrera to start, then Mourinho's just like sometimes tries to attack at the board, but like indirectly to show that he's been forced to play McTominay, who I think is not a player that has the qualities to play in the Premier League on a regular basis. If I'm honest, he could really do with a loan out in the Championship for 1 or 2 seasons at least, because he shouldn't be thrown into the deep end like Mourinho has done. So even though he has shown some good moments, like against Chelsea at Old Trafford last season, he did show some good moments on the ball and off it. But I think Mourinho needs to at least coach the players that he brings in, rather than being felt that he's forced to use youngsters at a time when he actually needs signings. It's time for him to coach these signings he's made. For instance, he's had Fred on the bench for most of the season. Eric Bailly has been, since that game at Brighton where we did lose embarrassingly, but like, he should be giving Eric Bailly 1 or 2 opportunities to pay the manager back and show that what he's capable of. Last season, Eric Bailly, like, not just even Man United supporters, but even the Premier League fans, they thought that he was like not one of the best defenders in the league, but at least in the top 5-10 bracket.
Yeah, solid defender. But yeah, like you say, he's only made 3 starts this season, I think, for Eric Bailly. It just seems mad, because he is a quality defender. Now, elsewhere, in other sort of Man United related news, there's always obviously Jose Mourinho related as well, I suppose, regular sort of reported rifts with Paul Pogba. And the reports coming out at the moment is that former Man United striker Zlatan Ibrahimovic is actually trying to help Paul Pogba get a move back to Juventus. Do you think that would be a good move for Paul Pogba? Would it be beneficial to United maybe, if the player's not happy? What do you make of those reports? If you don't mind me asking first, was that reported by the English media or the Italian media? Well, I was reading it it may have even actually been an American news report, if I'm being totally honest. I can't remember exactly, but I'm not even 100% certain if those reports I read were direct, sort of straight from Zlatan, or if they were sort of overheard, conversations here and there or anything like that. I just thought it was quite interesting that the notion was out there that Ibrahimovic might be trying to help with himself apparently heading back to Serie A, whether he might be trying.
Yeah, so looking at that, like, Ibrahimovic and Pogba are, they do have the same agent in Mino Raiola, so in football these days you never know what can happen. You see transfer rumours right now that Neymar could break the world transfer record once again in the upcoming summer, with Barcelona looking to re-sign him, whilst Dembele could go the opposite direction. So there's a lot of transfer rumours going on here and there. The newspapers have to come up with these rumours to make money and make money in their own way. But I think it's still hard to say, because Pogba has given some interviews recently with Manchester United, the club journalist, and he's shown that he's happy where he is at Old Trafford. And he did state when he came to Man United at the start that it was more like his time at Juventus was really helpful, and it did improve him as a player. But he's finally back home where it all started for him, and he's just more than happy to get going at United, and in need of helping him to get back to where they belong. Although that's not been the case as of yet, but you just never know, because he still got that attachment to Juventus, because they made him the player that he is today.
Yeah, that's it.
Those couple of years that he spent at Juventus, it's been very crucial to him at a time when Sir Alex Ferguson didn't believe in him and the club didn't believe in him. He left on a free transfer to Juventus, and then he just became one of the best central midfielders in Serie A and in Europe in just a matter of years. So, I mean, with Juventus having the likes of Ronaldo, Dybala, Bonucci, Chiellini, Pjanic in that team, it's very hard for any player, not even Pogba, any player to reject a move to Juventus, because at this moment of time, they are probably the favourites to win the Champions League.
Yeah, I would say they're definitely up there. Certainly well up for Serie A as well. They're looking quite pretty for that. So that's lovely, Asif. How do you see the season panning out for Man United and the Premier League in general? We'll throw it out there as well. Can you see anyone I know it'll probably pain you to say it, but can you say anyone catching Man City?
To be honest, I can't see it happening. I predicted at the start of the season that Manchester City would just blitz the Premier League again, and the squad as a whole they have is just something else. And I do feel Guardiola is the best manager in the world at the moment. He has been for a long time now, but once he wins that Champions League under Man City, if he does, then I think a lot of the debates will be settled on, because a lot of people think Guardiola is similar to Mourinho in terms of how much money he spends and how many players don't develop under him well, and sometimes how the big ego types of players don't get along with him. So, for instance, Ibrahimovic didn't really get along with him at Barcelona, but it's just quite obvious to see that Guardiola is just levels ahead of Mourinho in terms of the way he signs his players. He has spent big money on players, don't get me wrong. The likes of Laporte, Stones and Mahrez didn't come for cheap, but the improvement that you've seen in these players so far this season, it shows that Guardiola actually coaches his players and helps to take them to the next level, something that Mourinho is failing to do. So it's time for all Premier League supporters to look at, despite the fact that Guardiola's maybe spent more than Mourinho since they both come to Manchester. Guardiola's won the Premier League at City whilst Mourinho hasn't, and he's actually taken their squad to the next level. And it's a bit hard to say in terms of City's board having no issues with giving how much money they want to the manager, whilst Man United have had like some moments where they felt that the board should have provided more money, but it's maybe about 50-60 million difference. That much money, what would two signings make a big difference to where Man United are right now for Mourinho? I don't think so.
Yeah, no, that's another good point. Yeah, I mean, I was just watching, we'll take, for example, match of the day this weekend. Manchester City were playing West Ham, and they just looked as though they were finding it easy, didn't they? I mean, they're a class above. And like I say, I know that's probably not very nice to hear for an out-and-out Man United fan, but I think City are going to be the winners again this year. I think Liverpool are probably going to push them a bit closer than they have in recent years. But
if you look at the league as a whole, especially the last couple of years, although Tottenham are not the title contenders this season, but I still look at Man City, Liverpool and Tottenham as a level ahead. Over the last couple of seasons, they have been the best three teams in the league. Although Chelsea did win the league under Antonio Conte, but I just feel that the way how they are consistent in terms of just being quality on both sides of the pitch, and the way how they manage to score more than 3 to 4 goals in say about 5 to 6 league games a season is incredible. Like sometimes you just see the likes of Arsenal, United and Chelsea where, well, not United personally, but Arsenal and Chelsea, where they're just sometimes happy with their 2-0, 2 goals they've scored in a match. Meanwhile, Tottenham, especially at Wembley over the last few years, they've had that mentality to score more than those goals. I can even remember till now where this season they beat United 3-0. Under Van Gaal, they did score 3 goals at White Hart Lane. And I think last season where they beat us 2-0 or 2-3-0. So they've shown that mentality that they can score a number of goals in the games, especially in the big games, whilst Man United were struggling to score 1 or 2 goals. There was a statistic on Twitter where it's stating that we've not scored more than 4 goals under Mourinho, whilst we've done so under we've scored 4 goals under David Moyes and 5 goals under Louis van Gaal, which
that's quite
says
startling,
a lot,
isn't it? Yeah, I mean the thing that just doesn't seem right to me at the minute is United are on negative goal difference, and it just, I don't know. I think if you look at those 3 teams that you mentioned before, obviously Man City, Liverpool, Tottenham at the top. City and Liverpool, Tottenham are only 5 points away from Man City at the moment, but they've conceded more than twice as many goals as City have. You know, City and Liverpool only on 5 conceded each. And you just sort of think that is going to be the difference maker, isn't it, as the season goes on, is having the stronger defence. Because the firepower for each of those teams is not something that's really in question.
Yeah, definitely. If you look at the last couple of seasons, you'd say Liverpool's defence has been unconvincing, but since they brought in Virgil van Dijk in January, he's he's proven to be I'd say the best centre back in the league, and the way he's been able to lead the Liverpool defence and guide them on a regular basis, he is actually, like, when it comes to look at the most valuable players in the Premier League, he's definitely up there as probably top 5, top 10 most valued player in the league. Especially the way he's been playing so far this season.
He has developed into a fine centre-back, has Virgil van Dijk. Well, Asif, I think that is absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me and helping me out with this first half of the episode.
No worries, anytime.
Appreciated, mate. And we'll definitely have you back on. If you'll come back on, of course, at some point later in the season.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
Thank you very much. And welcome back to the Euro Fantasy League podcast. And I've got Dave with me now. Hello there, Dave. Better late than never, eh?
Hi, how are you doing, Jamie?
Not bad. How dare you work? How dare you have a life away from the podcast? Aye, so is all going well with you, mate?
Yeah, not bad.
Good. Well, as I'm sure you're aware, I've just finished having me chat with Asif Norat about the Premier League.
What was that like?
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, the guy knows his stuff, I tell you. He's an excellent guest. I think you've got a contender, actually, for future co-host, if I'm being honest with you.
So, sacked, are you?
Not live. No, we'll have that chat privately.
Okay.
So, yeah, I wanted to get you along to help you, to help get me through the La Liga and Serie A sections of the podcast, Dave, if that's all right. So
that's no problem at all.
Oh, that's very kind of you. So
does he not know his Serie A and La Liga, like?
Oh, well, he does, but it's I didn't want to just totally kick you off the episode. I'm trying to please all parties here, Dave. So yeah, Serie A. I was gonna start things off with, if that works out okay with you. And
no problem.
Chievo still without a win this season. It's been a really sort of tough affair for them, really, this season, hasn't it, so far?
They got a creditable draw, though, at Napoli, didn't they? 0-0?
Yes. Oh, yeah. No, they have picked some points up. But like I say, they're only on a single point at the moment. That's after 4 draws.
That was due to some points being deducted, wasn't it?
Yes, they started the season on -3, and it's kind of it's really hampering them. It's been a real problem. I mean, now they've got that draw. It's the second draw on the bounce, so they have gone from -1 to 1 in the course of 2 games. So they've almost got the negative points monkey off their back, if you know what I mean.
Just need a win.
Yeah, I think the win's going to be a big thing, because I mean they're 6 points away from your favourites, Frosinone. Or your second favourites anyway, Frosinone.
And I think Bologna's just above them.
Yeah, that's right. Bologna 4 points clear of them, with Empoli sitting 17th at the time of recording, just a point ahead of Bologna. So it's looking quite tight down the bottom of
the other end of the table. Is it already finished, done and dusted? Juve about 9 points. Is it 8 points ahead?
Juve are 8 points ahead of Napoli at the minute, yeah, because Juve won at the weekend, Napoli getting that draw. So yeah, the 8 point gap.
Ronaldo scored again, didn't he?
He did. He's starting to score goals for fun.
Again.
Yeah, no, I know that there's some real good goal scorers coming in at the top there, and Juventus, I mean, they've only conceded 8 in the first 13. So I mean, the top scorers in Serie A this season, and they've got the tightest defence. I mean, that's quite a difficult formula for other teams to overcome, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they'll win the league, no problem. But I think it's other glories they want this season. I think that's why Ronaldo was signed, and it's Champions League thereafter.
Well, that's what we were talking a couple of episodes ago to Rich Hall about, wasn't it? It was the Champions League glory a long-term thing, or did the Ronaldo sign and sort of signify they want it now? And I think we all pretty much agreed they want it now. That's it seems to be them and Paris Saint-Germain that are really prioritising, Champions League ahead of domestic glory now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, just going back quickly to the bottom of the league with Chievo, doesn't look as though things are going to be getting any easier for them. They've got a home game against Lazio coming up next. December's going to be a tough month for them. They're away to Parma. They've got an away trip to Spal. Now, I know we always say our friends at Spal, our favourite Serie A team, but that's going to be a must-win for Chievo. That's
a vital one, isn't it? And you mentioned Lazio before. They're in Lazio, 4th place.
Parma, and then the Spal game's followed up with a home game against Inter Milan, and that's just before Christmas. So it's got to be a really rough,
tough schedule for
run
them.
in. Yeah, it definitely is. AC Milan, though, we've just touched on Inter Milan. AC Milan up to 5th. Well, they got the draw, so I say up to 5th. They're in 5th, point behind Lazio.
Drew with Lazio, didn't they?
Yes, that's right, yeah. And the AC Milan being linked with bringing the great Swede himself, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, back to the San Siro.
Are they now?
Yes, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that's going to be a good move for the player and the club?
I don't know. The lad's quality, but is he still quality, and could it be disruptive?
Well, there is the disruption aspect, yep. I think that's it's quite likeable from a neutral standpoint with Zlatan, but I can imagine the clubs he's at sometimes have to sort of bury their head in the hands a little bit.
Yeah, but I think there's no one bigger than Zlatan in the dressing room, is there?
Well, that's it. I mean, he was claiming he was bigger than Paris, wasn't he, when he was in his last days at PSG? Said he'd stay there if they took the Eiffel Tower down and put a statue of Zlatan up. I love the guy, mate, but I mean, he is doing the job for fun in America still, but it's a different league, it's standard. A different culture, different climate, different standard. I think he could probably do a job for them. I don't know whether he'll be the major talisman, I want to say, but I don't know that he was the talisman when he was there before, actually, but his quality's never been sort of argued with, you know, and I don't know if he's maybe someone that'll just be brought in. David Bronstein actually wrote an article for EuroFantasyLeague.com about that one as well. That's always worth a read if you want to read a little bit more into the Zlatan Ibrahimovic Milan.
I just think he still wouldn't be very cheap. You know, it's still going to be expensive if you're just going to use him off the bench. You know.
Yeah, well, that's. I mean, 37-year-old though. Could it be maybe a case of the last big move? Because you know, I mean, he's won titles just about everywhere he's gone, with the exception, I would think, of Man United actually. But
if I was Milan, I'd be treading carefully. Right.
Well, he's not just sticking with maybe moving back to Milan either. He's apparently got his fingers in a couple of other pies as well, Dave. Right. He's apparently involved, the reports are that he's involved in trying to get Paul Pogba, his former teammate at Man United, get him a return to Serie A as well. Pogba's apparently wanting to go back to Juventus.
So I mean, he wants a cut of that deal.
You wonder if a career as an agent is in Zlatan Ibrahimovic's future, and it'd probably be quite a good one for him, to be fair. He's got all the traits, hasn't he?
He'll have all the contacts as well.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah. So Paul Pogba, I mean, I spoke to Asif earlier on about Paul Pogba and potentially going back to Juventus, of course, but I think I could see why Pogba might want it. It doesn't seem to have been an overly happy time for him at Old Trafford again, has it?
No, I think there's a few things going on at Old Trafford, isn't there, you know, with Mourinho and that, and Pogba. They've had a couple of spats, so it'll be interesting to see if he moves on in January. Yeah, well, January, or maybe certainly by next summer, you could, if things don't change drastically, you can maybe see something happening on that front there. Definitely. So, yeah, I mean, there's just a couple of the stories coming out of Serie A that just linked quite nicely together, you know. So we'll leave Italy behind then and take a look at Spain with La Liga. And big controversy in La Liga, Dave. Sergio Ramos. So, yeah, what's he been up to? He's something that, like a doping thing or something? Yeah, that's right. He has made an apology. He denies any deliberate wrongdoing. He actually blames the club doctor at Real Madrid for administering dexamethasone, which is only, I believe it's only a banned substance in certain circumstances, but Ramos's case sort of falls within that. But and what's he taking it for? It's an anti-inflammatory, and he's obviously tested positive for it, but he has made an apology. Despite denying doing anything wrong, you know, anything deliberately. Yeah. Well, you would think these club doctors should know exactly what's in the ingredients of these portions or whatever they are. You would think so, yeah. And the players are not medical professionals. Yeah, I mean, the players are not medical professionals. If you're given something by the club doctor, you've got to trust him, really. Everything to be legit, don't you? Yeah, I mean, Ramos released a statement saying, "I am vehemently opposed to doping. I have never participated, nor will I ever participate in, nor have I consented to, nor will I ever consent to any form of doping." So, I mean, that's quite a strong standpoint, isn't it? He's not leaving a lot of ambiguity there.
So, yeah, he's apparently considering legal action against anyone who undermines his reputation or who has violated his rights.
Right, fair enough.
So he does seem genuinely put out by this, as you would be if you were, an innocent party in this. But, yeah, a little bit of a scandal. Some people saying getting away with an apology, not quite enough. But you would think in the circumstances that would be fine, wouldn't you? He would know not to take it again.
Yeah, definitely. But as you say, I think the blame lies with the club doctor there, doesn't it?
Yeah, you would think so. Apparently, the testers were told that Sergio Ramos had taken injections of betamethasone in his left knee and left shoulder, and that's also banned by the World Anti-Doping Authority. So
you've got to be careful.
Yeah, I remember I've heard of players getting done for doping in some crazy circumstances. I believe Eric Cantona at one point was being investigated for something that was essentially found in a cold remedy. But it was on the banned list, and he's by no means the only one that's sort of
it's happened over the years,
that. And by the looks of things, maybe Ramos has fallen into the same trap deliberately or otherwise. I don't believe in this case it has been deliberate, but yeah, so that was sort of the big controversy going around La Liga at the moment. What do you think? Get in touch, dear listener. Let us know what your take is on the Sergio Ramos situation. I might contact Jason Pettigrove, actually, former guest on this show, and get the lowdown on that, because he's going to know a lot more details than we have at the moment. So maybe get his take on that. So, yes, what have you got for us then, Dave, La Liga-wise? I know you had
Real
something
Madrid,
you wanted to talk about.
Nightmare for them, isn't it? They're down to 7th in the table, and they lost at Eibar 3-0.
Yeah, I know. Quite a comprehensive win for Eibar, isn't it?
Yeah, and some fans describing Courtois as the worst signing in the club's history.
Now, that is astonishing, considering how long, Real Madrid were... I was about to say courting him, but his name's Courtois, so I'll avoid the pun. How long they were sort of making kissy faces at him, and they got him, and now for him to not go down. I mean, they did have a better result in the Champions League yesterday at the time of recording. They got the win at Roma, but the domestic form's really struggling this season.
7th in the table.
Yeah, no, I know it's they've already.
We've got new leaders at the top, Seville.
Yes, I know. It's nice to see. Some sort of different teams, isn't it, that's leading the way there. I know, obviously... I still think
Barca, come the end of the season, will win.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, Barca are a point behind. They lost and then drew, so they've dropped sort of 5 of the last 6 points they have, which has allowed Sevilla 2 wins on the trot to just leapfrog them. It'd be lovely to see Sevilla maintain a title challenge there, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Make it interesting, as you say.
Yeah, definitely will. And then you've got Atletico Madrid in 3rd, just a point behind Barcelona. And just a point behind Atletico Madrid in 4th, we've got Alaves. And then Espanyol in 5th. So, I mean, Real Madrid are actually 6th in the table at this present moment in time. I'm just checking it.
Atletico Bilbao are struggling, aren't they?
Yeah, Bilbao were right down there. They're 18th. Yeah, 2 points adrift of Leganes. And then Huesca, I'm absolutely gutted for Huesca because they started so brightly. The first couple of games looked like they were going to be able to really, make a go of things. But then they tasted the first defeat. I think it was the 3rd or 4th game in, and they're really struggling to get back on track now. Rock bottom along with Rayo Vallecano. 7 points each. They're 4 points adrift already. You've 18th, let alone 17th. So
Valencia back on track after a 3-0 win at the weekend.
Yes, I know they're up to 11th, and it sort of just makes a mockery of all those sort of struggler tags that were getting given to them the first couple of months of the season. Yeah,
because they had a great season last season, but then started off this season not so well.
They started off horrendously. I mean, like I say, they're up to 11th. They've only won 3 of their first 13 games, and 2 of them were the last 2 outings. So you would sort of think maybe, getting themselves back on track a little bit.
Turned a corner.
2 on the trot. I mean, again, looking at the Champions League, they fell 1-0 victims to Juventus, and that sounds like quite a decent showing. Losing 1-0 to Juventus in Italy. But I think that win against Getafe a couple of weekends ago just sort of really got them back on track again, and then beating Rayo Vallecano as they did 3-0. I think hopefully the worst of the season's behind them now, you would hope. but there is still work to do. I mean, 3 wins. They've got less wins than the 3 teams immediately below them. So, I mean, there is still work to do, but you would think they're back on the right track there now. So, yeah, I mean, that's a nice little summary of things going on in La Liga and Serie A there, Dave.
Yeah.
And we'll just take a quick look, if we may, before we start signing things off. Just looking at some of the players who've been performing the best so far this season. I'm going to take a specific look, though, at players that have done the best recently, over the last weekend or so, because otherwise it's just going to tend to be the same players we'll look at all the time. So yeah, special shout out really to the likes of Edison at Man City and Alisson at Liverpool. They're 2 of the biggest point scorers anyway, but they both got 7 for their clean sheets. Leroy Sané. Now I want to mention Leroy Sané while we're at that point. Looking at him in the performance at the weekend against West Ham, he just looked like he was playing on FIFA on easy level. So some of the players.
I think a few Man City players look like that, don't they?
Yeah, I know, but some of the passes. I mean, he sort of the way he controlled the ball just outside the 6-yard box, did a Cruyff turn with it, and still had the ball to just shoot into the net. I mean, it just looked.
Player, isn't he?
Yeah, he made it look really easy. Big shout out as well to Aaron Moy at Huddersfield. 10 points
the Australian.
he got. Yep, 10 points he got from that win at Wolves. That was quite a surprising result. I wonder if Wolves are going off the boil a little bit as well. It's been a little bit of a
much needed win for Huddersfield.
I massively,
think Wolves haven't won for about 6 now, I don't think.
No, I think it is 6. Yeah, they were in the top few places the first few games as well. But they're
often
struggling.
happens though with promoted teams that level out.
Yeah, that's right. I remember Hull when they got to the Premier League for the first time. They started amazingly. Did they beat Arsenal or get a draw at Arsenal or something like that? It was amazing, and then they ended up struggling. In Serie A, Keita Balde at Inter Milan scoring his first 2 goals for them in the 3-0 win over Frosinone. Got himself 10 points this weekend as well.
Decent return.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, the Premier League, I forgot to mention. How did I forget? Trent Alexander-Arnold got 9 points for Liverpool. Did you see that free kick?
I did. Oh, beautiful.
It was
top corner.
It was perfect, wasn't it? He could not have hit that any more sweet. And then at Valencia, of course, the club you've already mentioned, Santi Mina, getting 8 points this past weekend as well. So there you go. There's just some players that maybe might be worth monitoring over the next couple of weeks on your fantasy team, whether you're playing EuroFantasyLeague.com or Fantasy-Premier.com, Serie A-Fantasy.com, Liga-Fantasy.com, any of the sister sites. Keep an eye on those players because they would have earned you some serious points this weekend. So if they can keep that sort of thing up, then, you could be in for a successful season. You would certainly hope so anyway. So, Dave, any other business?
No, that's fine. That's fine. We've covered the Serie A, La Liga, and just a touch on the Premiership with the points returns of certain people.
Yeah, of course, because you weren't present for when I was talking to Asif earlier on. So, please do hit us up if you've got any thoughts on any of the subjects we've covered. Let us know about your thinking on Zlatan Ibrahimovic. As I say, check out David Bronstein's article on EuroFantasyLeague.com. It was a really good read. And get in touch with myself. I'm at JamClean1984 on Twitter. Dave, you're at Davey Fennick. And Asif is on there as well, at Asif9707. So do remember, you can check us out, hit the subscribe button, rating and review. It's all free of charge to subscribe. It means every new episode just gets delivered straight to your inbox when it gets released. And the more ratings and reviews we get, the more listeners we can find, the more interaction we can get. So, I think that just about sums everything up. Dave, thank you very much. I know I was taking the mick a little bit when you first arrived, but I do appreciate you taking the time. You're going to get the barbecue out, did you say?
Yeah, it's a gorgeous day, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, do you want to catch all the rain in a little reservoir in there, do you?
Yeah.
It's been absolutely
it's not good, is it?
No, it's been horrible. I've been driving around North Yorkshire this morning and it's been quite hairy in places. So, here's to an improvement in the weather, maybe. I doubt it.
I think we'll be waiting till about March.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be a long winter. So let's get, thank the Lord that we've got football to keep us entertained while we're snowed in. So that's my thinking. So yes, thank you very much once again, Dave, for joining me. Thank you to Asif for helping me out with the Premier League. That was much appreciated. I'm sure we'll be having Asif on again at some point in the future. And thank you for listening. Do get in touch with us, and until next time, we'll see you next month.